when this was not something that even needed to be discussed, because all there was the kingdom. And there wasn't anything else but the kingdom. Everything was fully and completely under the control and in submission to our grand Creator. Where things start out, my first book here is about all the things that happened prior to the flood. Basically from before the creation till the flood. And this period is formative. This is the period where Yahweh basically set out what His order was going to be for mankind here in this earth. And that's what's important about this particular period of time. What Yahweh did in the garden with Adam, the first man, and with his wife Eve, and the things that Yahweh said to him, it tells us right there in very simple terms what everything is all about. And it started out that the first man and woman really lived in the kingdom of Elohim, and they had a beautiful home there. They did not know the word trouble. They did not know the word suffering. And the things that are so common in our world didn't exist in that world. Every day they walked in the garden with their Maker. Think about it. In perfect harmony. And then a rebellion came onto the scene. An unseen spirit being decided that he wanted to be God. And through deception, he turned our first parents away from obedience to the first commandments that were ever given to mankind. And disobedience is what brought all the trouble into the world that we see all around us. People so often today blame God for all their troubles. They say, why did God let this happen to me? Why did God let this person I love get cancer or die or whatever else it might be? But you see, all the trouble and sorrow and death in the world is not God's fault. It's because our first parents disobeyed God. It's like throwing a little pebble into the middle of a pond. And then what happens? Those rings go out from that pond. They create consequences far beyond what you might think when you throw that little pebble in. And all of us, all the generations, continue to experience that. So from that happening, there became a fracture in the creation between the Creator, who had a perfect plan for everything, and the rebels. And here on planet Earth, the rebels came to far outnumber those who were faithful, those who continued in obedience. And there has always been only a small number. There's always been only a remnant who recognize the necessity of obeying our grand Creator. Surely His claim to obedience is absolute. It's beyond question. He is our Creator. We belong to Him. So on what basis does anyone have a right to rebel against Him? And yet that's exactly what happened. So that people have become really alienated from Him. Well, from the very beginning when this happened on the basis of hope, because He Himself, in sentencing the first parents plus the perpetrator of all of this, laid out how things would go. That there would be enmity between the seed of that serpent and the seed of the woman. And eventually, the seed of the woman was going to crush that serpent. And then all of this rebellion would be over and all the trouble that has come with it. This was the hope that was laid out from the very beginning. And after having received the sentence of disobedience and having received this message of hope, our first parents were driven out of their paradise home, having to deal with thorns and thistles and getting old and getting sick and dying. And it took them 900 years to die. We don't live so long today. But see, they were so close to perfection compared to us. And some people today would tell us that we are evolving into a higher life form, higher and better. And what has really happened to us is that our technology has evolved. We've had some time to figure out how to make some gadgets, like this thing I'm talking through right now. But has that made man better? The truth is, we have degenerated from generation to generation. And that really is the fact. Everything is moving towards a certain point in time. And a critical point in time where if the Creator does not intervene, you see, we will come to our end. It is inevitable that it must happen. And this is something he saw from the very beginning. And in those early days, he developed a righteous seed in the earth, the seed of Seth. And that righteous line carried the torch of righteousness in the world, while the rest of the world gave in to wickedness. And even in the heavenly places, demonic beings materialized on the earth. These are beings that had been angels. They had a place with Yahweh in the heavens, but they decided they would be on the side of the rebellion because it looked to them like God was going to do nothing about it. They thought that they could disobey without consequences. You know, it often seems that way because if you disobey God, you don't have a lightning bolt strike you. You don't have a sledgehammer come down from the sky and wipe you out. And to many people, they'll do something against God, and they'll see no consequences in their life. And they think, oh, well, you see, God doesn't care what I do, so I'm going to do whatever I want. And that's what they did before the flood. And the world before the flood became so wicked, the scriptures tell us, that all they thought about was evil all the time. And it became so critical that Yahweh had to give the world a good washing. And that's what he did. But we know there was a remnant out of all those people who carried forward the truth, who carried forward the spark of life. If it had not been for Noah and his family, none of us would be here. You know, what happened was Yahweh started telling Noah some really crazy stuff. Like, there's going to be water coming out of the sky. They had never had a raindrop. You can't even imagine it, you know, if you've never seen a raindrop. There's going to be water coming out of the sky, and there's going to be so much of it, it's going to fill the whole earth. So here's what you have to do now. You've got to build a 450-foot long box, and it has to be big enough to hold 2 of every kind of animals. And that was quite a thing that Yahweh said to Noah. Well, you know what? I know that some of you have had Yahweh challenge you. He said to you, well, you need to do this. In fact, in talking with Debbie and Troy, I heard a story a lot like that. Yahweh was saying some things to them. Well, you've got to go do this. And at first they're saying, wow, we need to be sure this is right. This is real different. Well, this is happening to people all around. This is what happened to Dawn and I. Yahweh started talking to us about certain things He wanted us to do. And that's why I'm here right now, because that happened. This is happening to people everywhere because He is doing something new. Just like in that day. You see, what happened in that day prefigured the days in which we live right now. And just like there were 8 people that Yahweh could work with that would do His will unconditionally, in this world today, there is a remnant of people that are willing to say yes unconditionally to Yahweh. It's not that many. And He's looking for those people. We're looking for those people too. That's what our ministry is about. Well, the flood occurred